call this little excerpt Gollywog. Get back on your marmalade jar. On the walk to the public library, I passed through the older parts of town, the factories and the council estates. Some of those houses still had disused outdoor lavatories in the stone backyards. They were industrial boom houses built from dark sooty slate and brick when Desborough was a roaring leather and shoe factory town. I usually avoided those streets, the windows festooned with St. George flags, growling dogs, the child lynching mobs I tended to attract. They'd tease me, telling me that their dogs were ex-police dogs that were trained to bite blackies and nignogs and gollywogs like me. And they called out these names the moment they saw me. In gangs, they took up chase with their dogs snarling, hounding me across the back of the new estates and muddy building sites, caterwauling, "Gollywog, gollywog, get back on your marmalade jar." It was dusk, closing time, and I was nearly the last person in the library. Now, this part wasn't unusual. I'd often get lost in all the books I wanted and be so indecisive knowing I was only allowed 4. And outside, I heard the dogs barking. I glanced out of the window and saw 6 or 7 itchy, snotty-faced kids with bikes and dogs waiting for me outside. They looked bored. They chewed gum with slack jaws. I recognized at least 2 of them from my school. A vicious girl with a long, greasy fringe which always hung in her eyes. Smiffy. She was a toughie. Middle child of about 11 brothers and sisters with a rusting car in the middle of their front yard. And next to her stood a boy. I knew him too. He had a girlish name, something like Marion. He was albino with white, fuzzy baby hair and sharp pointed teeth due to some calcium effect. He looked like a vampire's baby. They were bigger. They were with bigger, older punk kids, though, and loitering. And I knew they'd try to take my books off me. And they'd call me names, and their dogs would snap at me and chase me all the way home. They were swelling in numbers and blocking the entrance when my hero was on his way down to the boxing club and he saw the gang. He knew they had no use for books. My big brother appeared at the entrance to the library, and I beckoned madly and waved. Gus saw me through the glass in the doorway. "You all right, sis? Come on." I checked my books out, and he waited for me. Then we walked through the swinging doors together. Gus looked down at me. He didn't take his eye off me, not once, holding both my shoulders and asking gently if I was all right. "Did anyone hurt you? Which one was it?" My knees were quite weak. I was trembling. They jostled, bristled, and called us niggers and wogs. Quite suddenly, Gus swiveled from the waist and threw a direct punch at the biggest of them, hitting him in the face with rapid precision, 2, 3, 4 swift jabs, bloodying his nose and knocking him clear off his bike and onto the ground. It was so fast, nobody had time to blink. Not even the dogs had time to bark. "Leave her alone. She's still only in juniors," Gus swore at them. "You're all older than her. Leave her alone unless you want more." Marion jumped on his bike. He wobbled in his hurry to speed off as fast as his thin white matchstick legs could go. From the safety of the other side of the street, he yelled, "Niggers," and something about getting his big brother, but Gus brushed that threat off like a fly. And the punk he had punched sat cradling his face with cupped hands. Blood dripped through his fingers from his mouth and nose and down the front of his slashed Iggy Pop T-shirt. Gus stepped over him and hoiked up a good thick greenie from the back of his throat and spat. "Don't go near my sister again," he swore. Then he took my arm and walked me across to the zebra crossing opposite the library. And Gus looked down at me and soothed me with assuring authority. "You're all right, sis. Now go straight home." And as I started hurriedly up the hill, cuddling my stack of books to my chest, he went, "Salena!" "What?" "Don't tell Mum." Thank you very much.